They told her the baby died the night she gave birth. No coffin, no photo, no goodbye kiss. Just a quiet sentence whispered by a tired nurse and a paper she didn't fully understand. She cried for months, then for years, and then one day she stopped asking. Not because it didn't hurt anymore, but because asking made it unbearable. 36 years later, a cheap plastic DNA kit sitting on a stranger's kitchen table changed everything. Her baby hadn't died. He wasn't buried anywhere. He had grown up in another home under another name, believing his real mother had abandoned him. And the moment their lives finally crossed paths again, the truth didn't heal them gently. It hit them like a wave they weren't prepared to survive. Stay with me, because this isn't just about twins. This is about paperwork that replaced truth, silence that replaced love, and a family torn apart without ever knowing why. Before we go deeper into this story, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Now, imagine growing up your entire life with a quiet, unshakable feeling that someone was missing. Not a friend, not a lover, not a parent, but a part of yourself. That was the life of a woman named Evelyn Harper. She lived in a small American town where the air smelt like wet concrete after rain and old detergent from the laundromat nearby. She worked long shifts, came home to quiet evenings, and raised one child with more love than she thought she had inside her. But at night, when the house fell silent and the world softened, she often pressed her hand to the empty space beside her bed and whispered a name she was never allowed to grieve properly. She believed she had buried half her heart in the hospital that night. Evelyn was 22 years old when she went into labor. The hospital smelled like antiseptic and old paint, and the ceiling above her had a brown water stain shaped like a cloud that she stared at through every contraction. There was no husband holding her hand. He had left months earlier. There was no mother brushing her hair. Her mother had died when she was 17. There was just fear, sweat, and hope. When the first baby cried, relief hit her so hard she started shaking. A tiny boy was laid on her chest, warm and breathing fast, with fingers that wrapped around her thumb as if he already knew her. She named him Daniel through tears. Then she asked where the other baby was. The nurse hesitated. That hesitation was the most honest thing she experienced that night. The nurse said the other baby was too weak. Said they tried everything, said sorry in a voice that sounded rehearsed. There was no chance to see the body, no blanket, no goodbye. Just silence and a door quietly closing forever. What Evelyn wasn't told was that 15 miles away, in a quiet office with beige walls and a ticking clock, another woman was signing papers that would change 2 lives. Her name was Margaret Collins. She had spent 10 years trying to have a child, 10 years of doctors shaking their heads, 10 years of cold treatment rooms and white hallways that smelled like disinfectant and disappointment. She had money, power, and connections, and when she heard about a healthy newborn boy whose records could be adjusted, she didn't ask many questions. An envelope was pushed across a desk. A pen scratched paper. A decision was made that 2 babies could never consent to. That baby grew up as Andrew Collins in a large house with polished floors and quiet walls. He had toys, clean clothes, and a bedroom that smelled like lavender cleaner. But he didn't have warmth. He didn't have long hugs. He didn't have bedtime stories spoken with love. One night, as a child, he asked, "Why do I feel like I lost something I never had?" Margaret didn't reply. She turned the television louder. Daniel, on the other hand, grew up in a much smaller home. The wallpaper peeled at the corners, the floorboards creaked when you walked, and the air often smelled like fried eggs and laundry soap. But it was warm. Evelyn worked 2 jobs and slept in short pieces of time, but she kissed his forehead every night. Sometimes she stood in his doorway and whispered, "You were supposed to have someone." Daniel never understood those words, but he felt the truth in them. At school he felt it. At birthdays he felt it. In quiet moments he felt a strange emptiness, like music missing a note. Years passed. Both boys became men. Life began to feel normal until one rainy night changed everything. Andrew was driving home late when the rain turned the road into glass. A figure stepped into the street. A body hit the pavement. The tires screamed too late. He stopped breathing before the man could. The man was Daniel. Andrew saw his face and felt something crack inside his chest. He whispered out loud, "Why does he look like me?" Then he drove away, and guilt followed him into every sleepless night after. If this story has your heart racing right now, comment, "I'm still watching," so I know you're following the truth till the end. Andrew's fear turned into obsession. He started pulling files, old medical records, adoption paperwork, anything that could explain the feeling crawling under his skin. Finally, without telling anyone, he ordered a DNA test late one night while rain tapped softly against his window. When the results arrived, he stared at the screen until his eyes ached. 49.9% match, immediate family. Predicted relationship? Twin. His hands went cold. He felt sick. Every memory from childhood suddenly felt rewritten. That same week, Evelyn heard a knock on her door while the smell of burnt toast filled the kitchen. She opened it and saw 2 men standing on her porch. Same eyes, same structure, same hurt behind them. Her knees weakened. Andrew asked the question that tore through the air like broken glass. "Did you give me away, or were you lied to too?" Evelyn grabbed the doorframe and whispered, "I was told you died." And for the first time in decades, the lie collapsed. The truth didn't come fast. It came slowly, like peeling old wallpaper off a wall that had been hiding damage for years. A retired nurse finally admitted money had been exchanged. Files had been altered. A death certificate had been printed without a death. They didn't scream all at once. They cried in quiet pieces of time, in parked cars, in late-night text messages, in long dinners where words sometimes failed. Healing wasn't dramatic. It was awkward hugs, stiff conversations, moments of silence that slowly turned into laughter. Evelyn finally held both sons in her arms at the same time, and her hands stopped shaking for the first time in 36 years. Life didn't suddenly become perfect, it became honest, and that honesty was enough. Sometimes families aren't destroyed by fate. Sometimes they are destroyed by signatures made in quiet rooms by people who never consider the lives they change. Let me ask you something, and think about it honestly. If you found out that your life was built on a lie, would you forgive? If your mother had been lied to, would you blame her? If your siblings stood in front of you after 30 years, would you hug them, or would the pain be too heavy? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I truly want to hear how this story made you feel. And if this story touched your heart, subscribe for more real stories that remind us how fragile truth can be and how powerful love is when it survives deception. And if you think this story was unbelievable, wait until you hear what happened in our next story.